Welcome, curious learners, to a deep dive that I think cuts straight to the heart of what makes a leader truly effective.
Hmm.
We're tackling a question that's been, nagging at executives, entrepreneurs, and frankly, probably all of us for ages. Is charisma overrated?
Oh, it's a huge one, isn't it? A
Yeah,
really captivating debate. We see these magnetic leaders everywhere, but then you look closer
right.
and you also see these other folks achieving incredible lasting greatness through what looks like just quiet diligence.
Yeah, exactly. So our mission today is basically to stage a fascinating debate on this whole idea of executive presence and leadership styles.
We want to unpack these two powerful and, seemingly opposing philosophies.
Mm.
The goal is to help you, our listener, understand what really drives success, what drives innovation, and maybe most importantly, what creates that enduring impact.
Couldn't have said it better. So on one side, we're going to explore the case for the quiet, humble leader. Think level 5 leader. This is someone who deliberately puts their ego aside to build an institution that can actually last. This isn't about being weak or anything. It's about clock building, not just time telling. Creating something great that lives on long after they're gone.
And then the flip side. We're going to champion the powerful, charismatic visionary. You know the type. That figure with this almost gravitational pull
Mm-hmm.
who can inspire breakthrough innovation, sometimes through sheer force of will,
Mm-hmm.
creating what Walter Isaacson famously called Steve Jobs' reality distortion field.
Yes, the RDF classic.
Exactly. It's that electrifying presence that seems to move mountains and spark radical changes. Compelling stuff.
Totally. And to guide us through this kind of contradictory landscape, we've got a fantastic stack of material. We're pulling from business classics like Good to Great and The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Essential reading, really.
Sure, sure. And we're also diving into some really insightful, sometimes kind of raw biographies like Steve Jobs and Elon Musk, and even reaching back to timeless stuff like Machiavelli's The Prince.
Wow, quite a range. From Collins to Machiavelli.
Yeah, we're covering the bases.
So our job here is really to use these sources as our guides, right?
Right.
Sticking to the facts, the insights they offer, without us taking sides.
Exactly. This deep dive is for you, the listener. We're exploring which style wins, or maybe more likely if the answer is somewhere, in the messy middle.
Makes sense. Ready to jump in?
Okay, let's unpack this. I'm going to kick us off, making the case for that humble, understated leadership.
All right, lay it out.
So when we talk about this, the concept that immediately pops up is the level 5 leader. This is from Jim Collins' Good to Great. And it's not just about being like a nice guy.
No, it's specific, isn't it?
Very specific. Collins found these leaders, the ones who built truly enduring great companies, had this weird paradoxical mix: extreme personal humility
Okay.
and intense professional will.
Humility and will. Seems like they'd clash almost. How does that work?
It does sound contradictory, right? But that's the magic, Collins argues. Think about it. Extreme humility means they downplay their own role, they credit others, they look out the window when things go well.
Okay, so they deflect praise.
Yeah, but when things go badly, they look in the mirror. Full personal responsibility. No excuses. And that's paired with this fierce, unshakable determination to get results, to build something that lasts. It's not soft. It's a profound shift away from ego.
So window for success, mirror for failure.
Got it.
And this focus on the institution.
Right. That's the clock building, not time telling idea. A time teller is brilliant, tells you the time now, indispensable for that moment.
Mm-hmm.
But a clock builder designs the system, the mechanism that tells time accurately for generations long after they're gone. It's about building greatness into the organization's DNA, not just relying on one genius. That's a huge difference.
It really is a long-term view that feels kind of rare today with all the focus on quarterly results. So how does that actually play out in how a company operates?
Well, you see it in how they approach building the organization itself. Take Hewlett-Packard, HP, this is from Built to Last. Hewlett and Packard, both brilliant engineers.
Yeah, legends.
Right. They could have just focused on making cool gadgets, and they did at first. But they hit some bumps, some products didn't fly. And that experience, that bit of humility, made them pivot.
Pivot how?
They shifted from designing products to designing the organization. Their main job, they realized, was creating the environment, stable, secure, innovative, where great products could happen consistently.
So building the incubator, essentially.
Exactly. They focused on long-range opportunities for engineers, creating stability, not just chasing the next hit. That's why HP built this reputation for sustained innovation, not just one-off flashes of brilliance.
It's about the system.
And you see this institutional focus elsewhere, too, like Philip Morris, also from Built to Last. Now, putting aside the product itself for a moment,
Right.
they frame their work within an ideology beyond just maximizing profit. Their vice chairman talked about cigarettes supplying some desire, something fundamental.
Yeah.
Again, regardless of your view on smokes, it shows this deeper values-driven approach, something meant to outlast individuals.
So embedding a purpose, even if controversial, that goes beyond the balance sheet. That gives the organization something to anchor to long term.
Precisely. And that leads right into another key trait. The power of consistent execution based on clear values. Maybe not sexy, but incredibly effective.
Okay, like what?
Walgreens, Good to Great, uses them as a prime example. They had this simple hedgehog concept.
Right.
Be the best, most convenient drugstores with high profit per customer visit. That's it.
Simple.
Super simple. But the key was how they executed it. With fanatical consistency. They were obsessive. They ditched profitable stores if a better, more convenient corner location opened up.
Well, even profitable ones.
Yep. They pioneered drive-thrus because customers valued convenience. They
Wow.
clustered stores super tightly, like 9 stores in a mile radius in San Francisco.
That's intense.
It is. It shows that relentless simplification and disciplined execution can beat flashy strategies. They outperform companies like Intel and GE during that period studied. It's the quiet grind winning out.
Fanatical consistency on a simple core idea. That definitely paints a picture. But doesn't that risk becoming rigid? Like, what if the core idea needs to evolve?
That's a fair point. It has to be strategic consistency. Walgreens sticking to convenience worked. If they'd consistently focused on, say, selling hardware, it would have failed.
True.
And look at Harris Corporation, also in Good to Great. Their hedgehog was applying tech to printing and communications. Now, they weren't perfectly disciplined. The leader, Tullis, sometimes strayed. But their consistent return to that core focus eventually led to breakthrough results. It suggests, even with, human wobbles, that clear strategic compass keeps you heading roughly right.
So course correction back to the core idea is key.
Exactly. And then there's Sam Walton. You gotta love the stories in Sam Walton Made in America. Even when Walmart was huge, he was famously cheap.
Legendary for it.
But it wasn't just personal stinginess. It was this deep belief in the value of the dollar for the customer. Saving money meant passing savings on.
Right. The core value proposition.
So he demanded rigorous cost control. He'd personally drive his pickup, pulling a homemade trailer, mind you.
Seriously.
Seriously, driving to Tennessee to buy cheap shirts or whatever so he could sell them dirt cheap. The billionaire founder with a homemade trailer. It's almost funny, but it shows this absolute visceral commitment to that core value. Every dollar wasted came from the customer's pocket, in his view.
That's incredible dedication. Translating personal values directly into operations like that.
Yeah.
How do these leaders then empower their teams? Because it can't just be the leader acting alone.
Great question. It's about building that capability throughout the organization. Blue Ocean Leadership talks about using as-is leadership canvases.
What's that?
Basically, before you change anything, you get everyone, managers, employees, even factoring in customer views to map out how leaders actually spend their time and effort, visually.
Data-driven reality check.
Exactly. It cuts through the defensiveness because everyone sees the same picture, like, okay, we're all spending too much time on X. Makes people way more open to change.
I can see that. Takes the personal judgment out of it.
Totally. And look at BRG, a company in that book. They developed a new profile for frontline leaders initially called Cut Through the Crap.
Catchy.
They refined it to cut through to serve customers. But the point was empowering these frontline folks to solve customer problems on the spot. No waiting for layers of approval. And to train people directly.
Giving them real authority.
Real authority, the results. Turnover dropped from 40% to 11% in a year. Saved over $50 million. Customer satisfaction jumped over 30%. It shows the massive power of trusting and enabling people on the front lines.
That's huge. Trust and delegation, moving decisions closer to the action. That makes intuitive sense.
And it builds that sense of ownership. The discipline of teams talks about mutual accountability. In great teams, it's not about the leader being responsible. It's only the team can succeed or fail.
Shared fate.
Right. Requires flexibility, people helping each other develop skills. It's collective.
And what about disagreements? Teens always have conflict.
Good point. They need what the book calls enlightened disagreements instead of compromising where everyone loses a bit.
Yeah, lowest common denominator sometimes.
The idea is you first have to articulate the other person's view to their satisfaction, show you truly get it. Then you find the best parts of both ideas and create a third integrated, better option.
Synthesis, not compromise.
Yeah.
That requires real intellectual humility.
Exactly. Which brings us back to that level 5 trait. It's about getting the best answer, not winning the argument.
That's a powerful concept for collaboration.
And underlying all this is the inside-out approach from the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Stephen Covey's big idea.
Character ethic over personality ethic.
You got it. Real effectiveness, strong relationships, they start with self-mastery. Being proactive, living by principles, having integrity. It's not about manipulating people with charm, it's about being genuinely value-driven. Covey says the most important thing in a relationship isn't what you say or do, but what you are.
People sense authenticity, or the lack of it.
They really do. Duplicity always leaks out. And sometimes the self-mastery means the leader has to moderate their own behavior. There's an anecdote in HBR's 10 must-reads on managing yourself about a CEO who had these temper tantrums about poor results, created this terrible atmosphere of blame.
Yikes.
Yeah. He finally realized his angry outbursts were shaping the culture way more than his speeches about teamwork. He had to learn to control himself, realizing his team needed coaching, not a kick in the pants.
That takes real self-awareness. Admitting your own actions are the problem.
It does. It's that humble leader looking in the mirror again. Willingness to change for the good of the team, the institution, not just projecting an image.
Okay, so pulling this thread together, the humble, understated leader is really about stewardship, building systems, empowering others, focusing on long-term institutional health over personal spotlight.
It's compelling.
Exactly, stewardship, building something to last. But now,
Yeah.
let's shift gears, because there's a whole other side to this debate, isn't there? The case for charismatic, visionary leadership. And this is where, I agree, it gets really interesting.
Okay, bring it on.
We're talking about leaders who operate on a totally different frequency almost. Intense charisma, powerful presence, this ability to inspire radical, sometimes seemingly impossible change.
Mountain movers?
Pretty much. They see opportunities where others just see risk. And they compel people to follow them into that uncharted territory, often through sheer force of personality.
Okay, where do we start with this?
Well, you mentioned Machiavelli earlier. Let's go there. The Prince. Stark stuff. Machiavelli argues a ruler's only focus should be war and its rules and discipline to get and keep power.
Ruthless.
Absolutely. Avoid being despised, he says. And controversially, he suggests being liberal with other people's money, then captured spoils to gain reputation and loyalty. Cite Cyrus, Caesar, Alexander. It's not about being nice. It's about strategically using presence, reputation, even a bit of theater to dominate and influence, projecting strength and cunning.
Wow. That is a world away from the humble leader looking in the mirror. The ends justify the means, it sounds like.
For Machiavelli, in the context of ruling a state, pretty much, it's pragmatic, focused on effective power, which brings us to how these visionaries drive innovation, often through sheer force of personality, even if it ruffles feathers.
Steve Jobs.
The ultimate example, right. Isaacson's biography is packed with this, his reality distortion field. It wasn't just persuasion, it was this intense conviction that literally warped perception. He could convince people, maybe even himself, that the impossible was possible.
And got them to do it.
Exactly. Look at his negotiations with Commodore over the Apple II. Wozniak thought Jobs was nuts asking for so little. But Jobs had his vision. Wozniak often found him too tough on people, wanted a friendlier culture.
Yeah, the contrast between them is famous.
But it was that relentless, sometimes abrasive style, that unwavering belief that pushed out breakthrough products that changed everything. Sometimes maybe you need a leader to impose their vision with that much intensity to break through.
It's hard to argue with the results, the iPod, iPhone, even if the process was difficult for those involved.
Difficult is probably an understatement sometimes. And remember his return to Apple in '97. Company's practically circling the drain.
Yeah, the famous keynote.
Walks on stage, shorts and a turtleneck, and just blurts out, "The products suck. There's no sex in them anymore."
Ha ha ha. So direct.
Totally direct.
Yeah.
No humble consensus building there. It was a personal, unapologetic smackdown that instantly galvanized the whole company. Pure force of will.
A shock to the system.
Definitely. And then you have Elon Musk. Ashley Vance's book paints a similar picture of this all-or-nothing intensity. SpaceX is under massive financial pressure.
Yeah, early days were rough.
He publicly vows to see it through, projects total optimism, doesn't burden the team with the worry. Then at Tesla, the Model 3 production crisis. What's he do?
The production hell phase.
He pulls people from everywhere. HR, finance, doesn't matter. Tells them flat out, if we don't deliver these cars, we are fucked. Your new job is delivering cars. Fires underperformers, promotes promising juniors, personally guarantees the Model S resale value with his own billions.
Putting his own skin in the game massively.
Massively. It's this single-minded, high-stakes, deeply personal drive. Achieve the impossible, whatever it takes.
That level of personal conviction, almost like a gamble.
Yeah.
It's extraordinary. It feels like a force of nature sometimes.
It really does. And it inspires incredible commitment, often loyalty, sometimes sacrifice from the team. That ability to create the reality distortion field is powerful. Think about Louis Ranieri from Liar's Poker.
The mortgage bond king.
Right. Michael Lewis describes him as lacking tact, kind of rough around the edges. But he became the champion of the American homeowner through sheer passionate belief in mortgage bonds. He personified them. People thought he was nuts, believing his own crap about building homes for America.
But he sold them.
He sold them. Convinced people to buy these risky things. Basically created a huge market through raw conviction, even if it seemed audacious.
Moved markets with belief.
And Michael Milken, also a Liar's Poker. Lacked tact, but overflowing with confidence. Built this devoted team, had the zeal of a religious revival movement.
The junk bond revolution.
Yeah, his outsider status, challenging conventional wisdom like efficient markets, that let him see value where Wall Street didn't. Creating the junk bond market took immense personal drive, almost messianic belief, persuading an entire industry to follow him into uncharted territory.
So it's not just the results, it's the emotional connection, almost a belief system they create around the mission and themselves.
Exactly. They don't just lead, they rally. Inspire fervent devotion. John Wing at Enron, described in The Smartest Guys in the Room as a mythic figure, over-the-top personality.
Enron, always a complex example.
For sure. But his early deals, like Teesside, brought in crucial cash, pushed Enron onto the world stage. Shows how one charismatic individual taking big swings can generate massive tangible results, elevate the whole company.
Big risks, potentially big rewards.
And Jeff Skilling at Enron. After touring assets, his attitude was basically, I know the answer, I'm right, I'm Jeff Skilling, I'm Enron, got it.
Wow, not subtle.
Not at all. His philosophy, if you're going to do something, don't dabble. Do it big, do it fast. That forceful assertion of competence, aggressive pursuit of huge initiatives, classic charismatic visionary stuff, projecting absolute conviction, demanding speed and scale.
It's undeniably powerful, projects total confidence, but yeah, feels like it could squash dissent pretty easily.
That's often the trade-off, isn't it? Comes with taking huge risks, making bold, sometimes unilateral decisions. Look at Johnny Rockefeller Sr. Chernow's Titan portrays him with cold persistence and ruthlessness.
Build Standard Oil.
Driven by this immense ambition from day one, someday I'll be the richest man in the world. He was methodical, sure, but also wrestled with pride, greed. It was immense personal ambition and force of will shaping an entire industry. He even had to kind of sweet-talk his key guy, Gates, into staying.
A powerful, driven individual.
Absolutely. And this connects to what Keynes called animal spirits in his general theory. That spontaneous optimism, the urge to action rather than inaction that drives economies, often beyond rational calculation.
The gut feeling, the conviction.
Exactly. It perfectly captures that charismatic leader inspiring bold moves based on belief, not just spreadsheets.
So it's intuition plus the sheer power to make it happen, even against the odds or the data sometimes.
Right. And that's where strategy becomes personal. Michael Porter in Competitive Strategy says effective strategy isn't just analyzing the industry, it's influencing it in your favor.
Shaping the game.
Yeah. And who's better positioned to wield that influence than a charismatic leader with their commanding presence, reputation, and ability to inspire or intimidate? They can try to bend the competitive landscape to their vision.
Okay, wow. That is a seriously compelling case for the visionary. Bending reality, inspiring the impossible. But all right, let's try and bridge this, because like you said, the real world isn't usually black and white, is it?
Not at all. Nuance is everything.
And the sources definitely suggest it's not just one style is better. Sometimes that very charisma, that powerful presence, can actually be a huge liability.
How so? When does it backfire?
Well, think about speculative bubbles. Byrne Malkiel talks about this in A Random Walk Down Wall Street, the dot-com boom,
Yeah.
all those internet magazines like Wired, the industry standard.
Yeah, you remember those?
He calls their proliferation a classic sign of a speculative bubble. Charismatic figures evangelizing the new economy fueled this irrational exuberance. Malkiel calls it investment pornography. Yeah, it leads to collapses. The industry standard itself went bust in 2001. The New York Times called it the day the buzz died. Shows how that magnetic pull can lead to collective delusion and real financial pain when it's detached from fundamentals.
That's a critical point. The line between inspiration and delusion can be perilously thin. The same fire that warms can also burn down the house.
Exactly. And even successful visionaries face backlash. Amazon under Bezos during the dot-com bust, Brad Stone's The Everything Store details how they got hammered for using pro forma accounting, basically ignoring stock option costs to look profitable.
Right, the creative accounting arguments.
Critics saw it as a crazy dream built on an irrationally exuberant stock market. So even Bezos, a clear visionary, faced intense skepticism. His bold moves were seen as problematic, pushing boundaries too far for some. It shows that visionaries aren't immune to scrutiny or challenge.
And their boldness can attract negative attention just as easily as positive.
And then there's the ego issue. An unchecked ego can lead to what the Harvard Business Review 20-minute manager calls the set-up-to-fail syndrome.
Oh, what's that?
It's when managers, maybe through harsh criticism, micromanagement, or just never giving praise, slowly erode an employee's confidence.
Killing motivation.
Totally. A super charismatic leader, if they lack self-awareness, can easily fall into this. Their powerful personality just steamrolls people. They might stifle ideas, create fear, inadvertently killing the very innovation they want because everyone's too scared to speak up or fail.
The dark side of that powerful presence. It overshadows instead of empowers. That really makes you think about where disruptive ideas come from.
It does. And that ties into Clayton Christensen's The Innovator's Dilemma. He argues disruptive innovations often need small, independent teams with an appropriate attitude toward failure.
Room to experiment, basically.
Exactly. And it's super hard to foster that tolerance for failure within a big, established company, especially one led by a charismatic figure demanding big, fast wins. Christensen says bluntly, you don't want to tolerate marketing failure when you're investing heavily in sustaining technologies. It suggests true disruption might actually need a less ego-driven, more experimental, maybe even quieter approach.
So the charismatic approach might be better for scaling known innovations, but less effective for nurturing truly radical, uncertain ones. Interesting.
Which brings us to the flip side of that. When does humility need a kick? When does the quiet leader need to, make some noise to drive change?
Good question. When does quiet become passive?
Howard Schultz at Starbucks offers a clue and pour your heart into it. Despite being generally empowering, sometimes he'd deliberately create conflict in meetings.
Really? Create conflict?
Yeah, like suggesting radical things, opening stores 10 minutes earlier or later, knowing it would cause pushback. But the point wasn't the idea itself. It was to create an environment where people felt comfortable enough to challenge him.
Strategic provocation to encourage candor.
Exactly. Using a direct, even provocative move not to assert dominance, but to stimulate real engagement and stop people from just nodding along politely.
That's a sophisticated move. Calculated discomfort for progress.
Right. And Jim Collins, in Turning Goals into Results, talks about using a red flag system in his university classes. Students could literally raise a flag if they thought he was stifling their thinking.
Wow, that takes guts on both sides.
He tells this story where a student basically said, Professor Collins, you're doing a bad job running class today. You're leading too much. Let us think for ourselves.
Oof. Tough feedback.
For sure. But it confronted him directly. His style was blocking his goal. It showed him how to improve. It's that humble leader actively seeking, even inviting sharp critique to get better.
That level of vulnerability and commitment to learning is really something. Requires huge self-awareness.
Definitely. But even with all that empowerment, the leader still needs to provide direction, right? How will you measure your life makes this point. As companies grow, senior managers need to ensure employees make prioritization decisions aligned with the overall strategy.
So empowerment within clear boundaries.
Exactly. It means the leader has to spend a lot of time articulating clear, consistent priorities that everyone understands. Clarity and direction are still crucial, even in a humble leadership model.
Okay, so it seems like regardless of style, it all circles back to some core fundamentals.
I think so. And maybe the biggest one is self-awareness and adaptability. Peter Drucker's Managing Oneself hammers this home. Know your strengths, weaknesses, needs, style. This applies to everyone.
Right. The charismatic leader needs to know when their intensity is too much.
And the humble leader needs to know when they need to step up and be decisive, not just seek consensus.
Knowing your own instrument and how to play it in different situations. And it's a two-way street, too, isn't it? The HBR piece, Managing Your Boss, points out even subordinates need to understand their boss's style.
Good point. Leadership is an interaction, a relationship. An effective leader adapts to the context, the people. It's dynamic, not static.
And underlying absolutely everything, perhaps the most crucial element for any leader, integrity and trust.
Has to be. Covey again, 7 Habits. The most important ingredient is not what we say or what we do, but what we are. Real respect, real relationships come from that inner core, that dominion over self.
Yeah, you can't fake that for long. Whether you're charismatic or humble, if you're duplicitous, people sense it. Trust evaporates.
And without trust, nothing else works. Not charisma, not humility, nothing. Integrity is the foundation.
Absolutely the bedrock.
So wrapping this all up, what have we learned from this deep dive? It's been fascinating, hasn't it? We've seen that profound impact of the humble, consistent leader, the clock builders like HP, the fanatically consistent like Walgreens.
Building those enduring systems, empowering teams.
Yeah, and then the electrifying force of the charismatic visionary. Jobs' reality distortion, Musk's all-or-nothing drive, pushing boundaries, inspiring the impossible.
Moving mountains, sometimes literally. But the sources really point away from a simple etherer, don't they?
They really do. It seems like sometimes you absolutely need that intense conviction, that willingness to challenge everything, to spark a breakthrough or save a company.
The visionary fire.
Right. But other times, maybe most times, it's the quiet diligence, the focus on robust systems, the commitment to shared values that build something truly resilient and lasting.
So the critical factor often just boils down to, well, self-awareness, adaptability, knowing what's needed when.
I think that's a huge part of it, knowing yourself, knowing your team, reading the situation, and crucially, having the integrity to align your actions with your purpose, choosing the right approach, the right intensity for the right moment.
So for you listening, as you reflect on your own experiences leading teams, projects, even just your own life, what resonates with you, which of these qualities do you see as most effective, and in which contexts?
Yeah, what stands out to you? And here's a final thought to chew on. In this crazy, fast-paced world demanding constant innovation, is the biggest leadership challenge less about being one type or the other, and more about the wisdom to know when to be the quiet architect and when to be the inspiring orator.
And maybe even more profoundly, how do we cultivate both capacities? Within ourselves, yes, but also within the teams we build. How do we create organizations that are both consistently excellent and capable of radical leaps? That feels like the real puzzle for the future.
A lot to think about there.
Definitely. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We really hope this exploration gave you some valuable insights to consider.
Yeah, food for thought as you lead, learn, and grow. Until next time, keep digging deeper.